You need to be learning from those around you, learning from people that have walked that walk already. Because if you can just pick up a small thing here and there, it will just make your journey a lot smoother and safer.
Pricing is one of those make or break kind of things. So what are your thoughts on pricing? I'm kind of asking this because I'm aware that you have a report on your website called The Profit Killer.
Yeah, so, again, we all fall into this trap, right? Again, because it comes down back to my first point about education. Because we're not taught any different. So I priced the way I priced because of the person I worked with priced that way. He would charge X amount an hour, so I charged a little bit less at first or whatever, or a little bit more. And there was never any substance to it. And so, first of all, you need to have a clear strategy on your pricing. Okay. And what I mean by that is you need to know the costs of your business. Okay. Your business is different to my business. Your overheads are different to mine. Your expectations of earnings are different to mine. So we do an exercise in my coaching program where we have 3 columns. Okay. We have survival rate, we have the reality rate, and we have the desired rate. And the reality, the survival rate is what is the bare minimum that it costs you. When I say bare minimum, I mean bare minimum. What is the rent or mortgage? What is the council tax? Not your Netflix, because you can live without Netflix, right? Literally, what is the bare minimum that you as an individual have to earn? And then what is the minimum that the business has to generate to pay its gas safe registration, its software licenses, its insurances, and all of that. And that gives us a survival rate, okay? And what that gives us is in the bottom column, we sort of divide it up. It's like a little spreadsheet, and we work it all out. We work it out. You can have at least 4 weeks holiday and stuff like that. So we factor in a load of different things, and we end up at the bottom of that sheet with an hourly rate and a daily rate of our survival rate. Then we do something called the reality rate. And what the reality rate is the similar calculation, but now we factor in, well, what could you earn by going to get a job? So in this industry, the average salary probably nowadays is between 35 and 45-ish, if your PAYE salary, something like that. So that's the reality. The reality is that you could go and earn that tomorrow by going to get a job. So your business has to be able to be generating at least that. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay. So that's then our middle column. And again, we break it down into the years, into the weeks and months and everything. And we end up with an hourly rate and a daily rate for where we should be as a minimum. Then we factor in things like within that as well. We factor in admin costs and stuff. There's a little bit of complications to it. I'm simplifying it. But then we do the fun bit, which is the desired rate. Yeah. We're in business to earn more than just a wage. That's why we're in business. A business, by definition, I think, is to produce profit. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually the technical term, but you know what I mean. There's if you're a business, you should be making a profit. If you're not making a profit, you're actually insolvent. So that's not good. So in the desired rate, we do all the same calculations, but we now start to add. I'm not university educated. Percentages and shit I don't agree. I don't like them, right? I like round numbers. Do you want to make 20 grand this year on top of your wage? Do you want to make 30 grand? Do you want to make 100 grand? What is the number that would make this year, if you got there at the end, be, yes, I've done it. I've done really well. Okay, let's plug that number in. And then now what happens is when we've done all these calculations, we've got what I call a pricing throttle. Okay. So we throttle our pricing up and down depending on supply and demand. Okay. So the more in demand we are, we throttle up to the higher end of our pricing structure. The quieter we are, we reduce that down to the lower end. Never going below what is our minimum, because obviously we have to survive. You can't go to work and not earn enough money to survive. You have to be breaking even as a minimum in this industry. And what that gives people is 100% clarity on their pricing. They don't even, people get scared when they talk about money, but that's because they're just plucking figures out of their thin air. They're just, 500 quid because that's what everyone charges for a power flush. Okay, 500 quid. Well, am I making money on that? That's what you need to actually know. And when you do this pricing structure and work out these prices correctly, you have that confidence, and that that sells to the customer. Because when you can stand in front of them, eye to eye, give them a price, straight faced, looking at them, discussing it properly, not being scared. I'm going, I'll text you the price later because I'm freaking scared to say it in front of you. No, this is the price. This is what we do. Do you want us to do it? Yes or no? Let us know if you want us to go ahead. Blah, blah, blah. You sell more for starters. But also what we do is we maximize the environment. When you book a school holiday to go on holiday in the school holidays, you're paying an extra grand, yeah, minimum, because supply and demand. When the oil prices are going through the roof, yeah, because Saudi have decided to reduce the production of the oil because they want to run the price up. Supply and demand. The whole world works on supply and energy costs. All of that is supply and demand. Don't be scared to implement that into your business, because we are a seasonal business. We need to make hay while the sun shines, is the saying, isn't it? We get a 4 or 5 month period of the year where we are in high demand, and we need to maximize that. And knowing your pricing and understanding where you should be is so important. And I've not even factored in anything to do with inflation, cost of living. When you start to factor all of these elements in, again, you mentioned that report that I did. I wrote the report. As you can tell, my English isn't great, so the report reads like a 14-year-old probably wrote it, but the point is there. What I did in that report was factored in over a 20-year period inflation, just the baseline inflation, which is probably underestimated in reality if we actually went deeper into it. And it was staggering. I worked it out in that report. Don't quote me on this, but it's roughly that most small businesses in this industry, technically, if they wanted to have kept up with just inflation over the last 20 years, should be charging in excess of £180 per hour. How many plumbing and heating engineers are charging £180 an hour, 6 hours a day? They're not. Trust me, I know that there's a few outliers in the renewable industry and the more technical space that maybe are creeping up towards that sort of rate. But 99.9% of people aren't there. And that is partly the industry's fault, because if everybody raised their prices every year, like everywhere else does, you get your Sky subscription come through every year, 5% increase, 4% increase, 3%. Your phone bill comes through 3% to you. Everything goes up because it's just economics. Yeah? If inflation's going up, they have to, but we don't. And we're all at fault at that. Everybody in this, in the trades and construction industry has to hold their hand up and admit that we have played a part in that. We have allowed it's not even the consumer. We've just allowed it to ourselves. I don't really know why, because if everybody put their prices up 10% today, the customers would pay it. In the same way, we still pay the Sky bill when it's gone up. Like my Disney has just jumped up nearly £4. It's only an £8 subscription, so that's like a nearly 50% increase. Guess what? I ain't cancelled the direct debit, have I? I'm still paying it. I'm going to pay it when it goes up to £20 because I like Disney and I like the films on it or whatever, So going forward, if I can leave you with anything around this pricing information, is raise your price every single year without fail by the rate, as minimum, by the rate that the national inflation rate, I think they release it in, you might know better than me, January, I think, is when they release the the official yearly inflation. I might be wrong, or is it? No, it's probably April, isn't it, around the budget time? But whenever it is, do it then, because it's hot topic. People are expecting it, so it just gets sort of slid under the radar. But if you commit to just doing that one thing a year, you're not going to be left so far behind. Yes, you should be increasing prices on because other things go up and all of that. But as a minimum, if you can just commit to the inflation rate and adjust the pricing according to that, you're not going to be as far behind as everybody else. I know people that haven't put their prices up in 12 years. 12 years. That £100 that they think they're earning less now, so they're more skilled, they're more knowledgeable, they've got a better business, as in like the operations, the customer service, everything is good, but they're earning physically less money every single week because they haven't it's not even bothered. They just haven't known that they should have been raising them prices. As you can tell, I get a bit passionate about pricing because I'm just fed up of seeing hard-working men across the country and women, busting their balls every single day and not getting anywhere. If anything, they're falling behind where they should be. These people work hard every single day. They should be rewarded. It's a skilled job that carries risk, carries responsibility. It demands attention. It demands availability, and there has to be a premium for that. Yeah. I'm not saying we're doctors, I'm not stupid. I know it doesn't get to that level, but you tell me, right? How long would society last without sanitary? You take away the plumbers tomorrow, yeah? I'd give you a month, mate, and this world would become very, very dangerous very, very quickly. So we are important, and we need to value that importance. I know that's a bit of a weird summary to say it, but it's true. We are a very valuable part of this society and economy, and we should be rewarded for that as well.
Yeah, they did definitely. I did really like that, the concept of having them actually working out how much do I actually need. Because I think that number is probably higher than, I'm guessing some of your clients, if I had to guess before doing this exercise and then after, I think they would be quite shocked by how much it is.
Most of them, the minute we've done that exercise, it's about an hour-long exercise that we go through. There is a recording actually somewhere online. You'll have to find it that I released. What was I saying? Most of them literally leave that session and they put their prices up literally the next day because it's not a choice. They're not doing it out of greed. They're doing it out of necessity. They're doing it out of necessity to provide for their family and their livelihood and their business. And your business is no good to that customer if it ain't there in 6 months and they have to get some rogue trader in. Yeah. It's that you're doing the customer a disservice by not charging correctly, because if you're not there to help them, they could get ripped off by the next cowboy that comes through town, So, as you can tell, I'm quite passionate about that.
Well, I do really like it because you get that certainty. So you stand in front of the customer, you say, this is what my fees are. And then, you're quite right. That whole thing about there's kind of question like, am I worth it? Am I charging the right thing? I wonder what the other quote is, if there's another quote or whatever, that certainty definitely comes across,
It was game changing for me. Do you know how many times, right? And there's room for being a nice guy, and I'm not discouraging anyone doing a favor for someone that who's struggling, and I'm not heartless, right? But you know how many jobs I would go to back in the day where I'll pop in, I'll just give us 20 quid, just bung us a tenner, and you compound that over a year, 2 years, 5 years. You can't. I know to the penny. We get on average 5 billable hours a day. Okay. So I get 5 opportunities in that day per engineer to bill my hourly rate. Okay. So in my calculation, I'm not dividing the day rate by 8 because I'm not going to be able to bill 8 because the guys have got to pick up materials. There might be a problem. Job might overrun a little bit. You've got to factor all that. My average from what I know is roughly 5, at a push 6 jobs. If we get 6 paid jobs in a day, we're winning, we're exceeding expectation. But I have no choice. I have to be able to charge 5 hours a day. So we can't go and do that job for 20 quid, right? Yes, we were only there 10 minutes, but we weren't, were we? Because we took 5 minutes to answer your call. We took 5 minutes to plan it in the diary. We drove 10, 15 minutes to get to you. We used our 20 odd years experience to fix the problem in 5 minutes. It's not my fault I'm good at my job and fixed it quickly, So we have a minimum charge. And yes, some customers moan. I'd rather have a customer moan every now and then, which they do. They still do. They'll be like, oh, he was only here 10 minutes. And I have to go through the same. I've got like a template email that says, look, this is why we charge. This is how we're, and then most of them just shut up and they come back and say, oh, yeah, totally understand. Sorry. But but you've got to do it. You know, it's if you want to be around in a year, 5 years time, there's no choice.
But you just have to be fair to yourselves, because otherwise, if you don't charge the right amount, what happens? You know, at the end of the year, you'll be tired. You'll look at your accounts. You'll sit down with your accountant. This is the worst case scenario. Ideally, you need to be looking every month, etc. But you just you think, well, I worked all year. Where's the money? And it's just been nibbled. All of these little things, just be really conscious of them. You know, this is my suggestion. But and the other thing I really liked about the model is that you have that kind of at the high demand, you actually charge more, because you don't have, as you say, you've only got a 4-month window. You know, when you're in really high demand, and just I think it would also give more confidence about. Charging more, or because there's a fear, like if you put your prices up, will I not get the work? There's all sorts of, there's other bits and pieces that come into pricing. So it's quite it's more intense kind of thing. So, and that's why people hesitate.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So your tip is, would you do would you recommend doing like a 15-minute just logging what you're doing? It requires a bit of discipline, find out where your time's going, and just to actually see how many billable hours you're doing, per week per engineer, and what you actually need. And then actually, of course, go through.
Yeah, there's two commodities in life, isn't there? There's money and time. You need to be on top of both of those. Yeah. Money, you can make more money. Yeah, if you're blessed with the next day, you can always make money. You can't guarantee the time, so there's a balance, and it's not all money. It's there has to be life and balance. Like part of my coaching program is looking after all of the areas: body, business, and balance, and that's very, very important as well. How many fat, overweight, miserable millionaires do you know, or the local businessman that's really rich, but wife left him, and he looks miserable as sin. You don't, in my opinion, you don't want to be there. You want a good balance. You want a healthy balance of enough money that you have some choice in what you're doing, a great family around you if you're blessed enough to have that. And looking after yourself, because ultimately, if you're not in a good place, either mentally, physically, or both, then you can't perform. So you need to make sure that all areas are covered, and it's hard work. I won't lie, it's not easy. You see these online people that make life look like they're like a walk in the park. Life ain't easy. We all know it, ain't we? All, you could go up to anybody in the street today and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear about your problem," and they'd be like, "How did you know?" Because everyone's got a bloody problem, haven't they? No one walks around like life is rosy. So I don't know what my point was there. I just thought I'd waffled a bit.
I think it is a good point, because it is missed. You do need like all legs on the chair. A chair is not going to be like if you just focus on the money. But I think the reason we're kind of like, from what I see from the people that use our software and people who interact, because we do customer interviews all the time, we find out feedback, etc. But you do see that we're kind of pushing to raise the prices for the tradespeople, because we see that people are just working really, really hard, and they're just not being rewarded for it. And if you're not going to raise the prices, there is an argument, and we do see it with some people, is that they go back to being employed.
Yep.
Because they're earning less as a self-employed than they were employed, plus all the extra. I'm going to put it under the category of fun, but all of the overhead of running a business, etc., and the additional learning, etc., that you have to do.
Yeah, sadly, I see it all too often where people go full circle, where they go out on their own. Then they have all the problems that come with that, and then they go back employed. Some love it, some love it. When they go back employed, they're like, yeah, you know what? I realised it ain't for me, and that's perfectly fine too. By the way, if you just want to be on your own and you're not trying to build anything special. You're just trying to have a decent life and earn a decent money. That mate, power to you. Because if you know, again, it comes down to your why. If you know that's what you're doing, go on, crack on. Amazing. If you're happy, I'm happy, but don't live unhappy. We only get one turn round here. Yeah. So don't keep putting off happiness for tomorrow, because, it doesn't always come. So try to get yourself in a position where you can enjoy and you can be happy in what you're doing, whatever it is, whether it's building. I've got clients that are trying to take on the world. They want to be the next Pimlico plumbers, right? Power to them. I've got clients that just want to make an extra 20 grand this year. I say only 20 grand. I'm not demeaning 20 grand. But my point is, they're not trying to grow a business. They're just trying to maximize what they're doing, be efficient as possible, and create that lifestyle that they want. And again, that's great too. There's no right or wrong. Don't look at somebody else that's got 10 staff and you think, I should want that. Well, no, you don't have to. You got to want what you want. That's the important thing, is knowing. And again, it's one of the things that I found with, again, I'm going to be specific with men because that's who I work with. A lot of men don't know what they want. They don't. And I spent a decade there not knowing what I'm trying to achieve. And then finally, when I guess it comes with maturity, maybe comes with life experience. And at some point along that journey, it clicked, and I knew what I wanted. And then that just made everything from that day just that little bit easier to do and move forward from.
I think about knowing what you want. I don't think, like when you start out, you don't know what you want, so you have to try stuff. And you only find out after you've tasted it whether you actually like it or not, and whether it's for you. So you're talking about like managing 10 staff, or the easy example is that if you go from employed to self-employed and you discover you don't like it, it's brilliant. You've tried it out. You've solved that curiosity. It's not sitting in the back of your mind, maybe I should go self-employed. And then when you look at somebody with 10 or 20 employees, just think about, do you enjoy managing people? Do you enjoy holding them account? Do you enjoy building the structure and all of those things? If you do, go for it. If your main focus, if you really enjoy fixing, we are talking about boilers, if you really enjoy the actual physical, the work of it, that might not be for you, because, as you grow, as the company grows, that skill set of knowing how to fix a boiler or the actual doing the trades work, that portion of your time it gets less and less as the company grows, because you need to, it's more, leadership, etc. It's all the other bits around the business.
One of the happiest guys I know runs a business with 15 staff, yeah, and he works on the tools. He realized he doesn't like running the business. He doesn't like being in the office. He doesn't like dealing with the engineers day to day. So 3 days a week, he's just on the engineer's diary. He just goes to work. Mate, the geezer's so happy, honestly. Like, he's one of them blokes that, you walk in the room and he's just smiling, like he's just happy-go-lucky. And I've seen it in lots of different, like for me, I always wanted to be off the tools. That was what made me happy, was getting me out of there. But most of my clients, it was a bit of a revelation. I just presumed naively that everybody wanted to get off the tools. I thought that was like, well, yeah, you start off, you learn, you start the business, you get off the tool. But most of my clients want to do a bit of both. They want to. What they really want is the freedom of choice between. Okay, on a Monday and a Friday, I'll be in the office. On a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm happy to be out in the van working. And that was, for me, that was quite eye-opening, because I, like I say, naively just presumed, well, that's just surely everyone's aspirations is just to get off the tools, when in reality it's not. Most people are driving mad sitting in an office all day.
Like, we're kind of talking about like success and what do actually people want? Like you kind of mentioned it. Some people want like the Pimlico end of the scale, but when you actually like are they looking for freedom, money? What's the most common kind of things?
The biggest thing that I've learned is that most people want the freedom of choice. They want to be able to choose what they do. So they feel in control, I guess. So they want to choose that. So they don't want to feel led down the garden path, so to speak. They want to make them choices and them steps that they want to go to. And most, when they get that bit of freedom of choice, then they just become happier because they're choosing to do. Like I'm doing a lot of work on my house at the minute, right? And this sounds really weird, right? I find nothing better than digging a pile of mud from there or a pile of stones and getting it over there. Yeah? Basic labouring, right? For whatever reason, I love it. Right? I could employ a local lad, 80 quid a day, who could come and could have done it all. I've done most of the labouring here purely because I want to. I like it. It's a workout. I don't have to think, as in it's like, move that to there. Okay, right, let's go. And that's what I mean by choice. I got to choose to do that. And I know that I like that. Whereas the plumbing in my house, right? I didn't do my bathroom. I did do a bit of the underfloor heating reluctantly because I had to dig in. But 95% of the plumbing in this house has been done by one of my team. Obviously, I can do it. Of course I can. I don't have to pay my guy to be here and do it. But I just don't freaking like it anymore. I don't like the smell of solder. I don't like the tackiness on my hands, the black, I just don't like it. And again, that comes down, thankfully, I'm in a position where I can choose to do that. And I think that's what most people want, is that choice, that freedom of choice. Obviously, naturally, everyone wants money, but if you dig a bit deeper, it's normally freedom.
I think you could almost argue that the freedom is kind of like a more of a top level, and then below that, you've got freedom of money, freedom of time, and then there's probably a third one of them in there. Of freedom of who your customers are, who you want to deal with. Because I don't know whether that comes up at all, but there might be a thing where there's somebody that gives you a lot of work, but you have some hesitations about that.
So in the marketing world, you've probably come across it. Is like they call it your client avatar, don't they? And I avoid using that word. I try to say, who do you like doing work for? So I'll use my business as an example. Okay, so we're based in Bedfordshire. We're flanked by very wealthy areas and very, very poor areas. Yeah, so we've got a real mixture of people. I presumed that I wanted to work for wealthy people. I just presumed that was obvious. Of course, you want to work in the nice big houses down that street rather than these streets. Then I realised I don't like them. I don't like middle class, higher end people. I'm a working class man, and I like working class people. Obviously, of course, we work for more wealthier people as well. But my preferred customer is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They've worked their whole life. They want a good job done for a fair price. They want to have a bit of a banter. They don't want it all snotty and stuffy like a corporate environment. And so we just doubled down on that. So we focused on that. I know clients that solely work in multi-million pound houses around freaking Regent's Park area in London, and that's their choice. They prefer that because then it's all structured, it's all organised. There's plans, there's architects, there's the designers, there's all of these layers of input in, and that's what they prefer. So you do need to know who you prefer to work for, in my opinion, and the best way to know who you prefer to work for is think back to the last 5 customers that stand out in your head. And that will tell you who you prefer to work for. If it's that lovely old couple that live in the village, and then there's like 2 or 3 of them customers that come to mind, well, that's who you prefer to work for. Because if they're the ones that come into your mind, so then you can start to target the business for those people. Yeah. And so the language that you use, the adverts that you put out, the places that you put those adverts in, you can put yourself in a position to attract more of those type of customers. Yeah. I don't like working for people under 40. Yeah. So my age group, I'm 36, right? I can't stand people around my age because they think everything's a 2-minute job. I'm generalizing here, so, I'm having a bit of fun. They want everything for nothing. They think it's a 2-minute job. They want you here yesterday because they ain't got no patience because they order everything on Amazon. I can't stand, so none of our marketing talks about like gadgets and like techie stuff because I don't want to attract that sort of, I want the 55, 60, 70-year-old people, that just want a good job. They just want a nice person in their house that does a good job, that comes back if there's a problem, and yeah, that's the way we roll. But if you like techie people and you like that stuff, then that's what you need to focus on and focus your adverts and your marketing around that niche that you're looking for.
Yeah, that language. Well, if you was like a sole trader, before you get to the sole trader, like an employee, so you like if we go through this journey again, at which kind of, like in the beginning, we're talking about really basic marketing. We're talking about Facebook groups of your local area, or, flyers, wrapping your van, all the basics. And then at which kind of point do you start getting a little bit more, like what are the stages of the actual marketing as your business grows?
So once you've boxed off the basic stuff and you're doing that consistently, 9 times out of 10, that's going to get you to a position where you're busy. You're getting a decent amount of referrals come in naturally. What I normally advise people to do is before we spend any more money than you're spending, we look at your referrals. So recommendations is another word for that. So recommendations for most small businesses and probably your own business. Most people that are on your platform are probably on it because they spoke to somebody that was on it or they were in a group that someone recommended. Recommendations are very important. Years ago, when I first started, recommendations come in the form of the neighbours talking over the fences, yeah, and down the local shop. Nowadays, obviously, recommendations come on social media. They come in all different places. So attacking that, and what I mean by attacking it is don't just leave it to nature, because if you're good at your job, that's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to get the guy that recommends you to their neighbour. You're going to get the daughter that tells their mum that you've done a great job, and they're going to come naturally. Okay, and that's great and that's brilliant because it's free advertising. You're getting basically free work in essence, but you want to encourage that. So one of the first things before I start telling people to spend money is how can we make this referral, this recommendation, be encouraged. So there's lots of different techniques. We have some people that make like cards, so they're like referral cards. Customer puts their name on one side, give it to their friend. If their friend gets the boiler done, they both get 50 quid Amazon voucher. Yeah, nice and simple referral scheme. It encourages them to recommend you to people. And as you all know, anyone listening to this, if you get a recommendation from somebody and you go there, you've got a higher chance of winning that job. So it's a good way to do it. Obviously, you can use email encouragement as well. So we send out emails. I think it's quarterly, so that's every 3 months that we send out emails to our customer database through software, basically saying how is everything, if there's a local event on. So we try to use seasons. So obviously with Christmas coming up, the email that will go out in December will be a Christmas themed one. If it's April, it will be Easter. If it's Halloween, we try and use like points of the year that have a bit of meaning. And we just ask customers, we're like, if you know anybody that needs any work doing, don't forget that we do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. If you pass our details on, we'll give you a bit of a discount on the next job. Or if it's like a boiler specific or something, we give like money off vouchers and stuff. So we really hone in on that referrals, because if you can maximize that, it's costing you no real money. Maybe an odd email, bulk email or whatever, or a bulk text message that you might send. So before you do anything, I look at that. Then only then would I start looking at, and to be fair, before we even looked at online advertising, I would be looking more at the process that the business, how they handle the leads. So if you've not got no one answering the phones, don't start doing online advertising, because you need to be able to maximize every single inquiry that comes through, because it's a cutthroat game. Yeah, you could end up spending hundreds of pounds and not even get to book a visit to a customer if you're not doing it right. So before you start doing that, you need to make sure that you've got decent call answering, decent processes to get quotes in and out of the business as quickly as possible, because you don't want every quote to take you 2 hours and be a ball ache. You want to be able to efficiently do them, so templating and processing out some of the sort of more monotonous parts of that job. And then obviously naturally you start to look at a bit more of a Google ads, Facebook ads, pay-per lead stuff like My Builders and all of them sort of sites as well. And then roll with it from there.
Yeah, but I think from a software point of view, the most important thing, because people can pay monthly if they want to, which means that if we make a mistake, we get feedback very quickly. So people just cancel their subscription. But from a tradesperson's point of view, that reoccurring, that getting people to come back is just really crucial, because when we look at the most successful companies using our software, their referral or their repeat customers, it's above 90%, and this is just making sure that all of their systems are in place, handled. It's like from our point of view, we look at it like a leaky bucket. If you've got a hole in your bucket, there's no need to pour more water in. Fix the hole first, which is
Definitely.
Your service, everything like that. Then start putting a bit more in. And I think we are giving Facebook, Google a bit of a hard time. The paid ads do work-ish, but they should be the last on the list, would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
The very, very last.
I've sort of made that part of the way I've been explaining it, because I feel exactly the same.
Yeah. It's just it's just a quagmire is probably the summary of it.
And there's lots of sharks swimming around in that industry as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then do the basics, but get that consistency up now. So it's really easy to do stuff for a week. It's a bit harder to do it for 10 days, but it's actually quite difficult to do the basics, repeatable, consistently. And it's that consistency that will just get you there.
Can I swear on this podcast, or is it not? Is it non-swearing?
I'm not sure. Go for it.
Okay. So I've started saying this little phrase. Basically, I'll beep it. It's basically be a little bit less shit than everybody else. So the reason I mention that now is because all you've got to do is the basics right in this industry, and you will do well. You've got to answer the phone, get back to people, turn up on time, communicate well, get quotes out quickly, do the basics right, and you can build a decent business for you and your family. It really is. And like that be a little bit less shit than everybody else is because 95% of the industry are pretty poor at what they do from a business point of view. I'm not saying they're poor engineers and whatever. Most are still writing stuff down on the back of a fag packet, forgetting to send out a service reminder, or forgetting to, send an invoice for 2 weeks and wondering why they've got no money, and all these basic sort of schoolboy errors. So yeah, you don't need to do much to really stand out.
Well, if you've been completely, objective about it, like if you are on the tools, you're a sole trader, you're out there, you are trying to answer the calls, trying to book stuff, and it's just not possible to do it well. All those things all together. Without dropping stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, if you're tired and stuff, you're going home, your family wants time, trying to put the kids to bed, or whatever your personal situation is. There's a lot of demands and there's a lot of juggling. So it definitely needs some kind of standing back and some thought about how to organize it better. So that's everything from me. Do you have any kind of final thoughts or anything that you would think that would be helpful for people as they're growing their business?
So the last thing I would probably say is, I think I've already sort of briefly touched on this, but seek out information. If you don't know the answer, find someone that does. Find someone in your industry or someone close to you that maybe knows, or look for outside help. But you don't have to know it all. So please, if there is a problem in your business, if there is things that you want to do next in your business, but you're not quite sure how or what way to go about it, don't try and do it on your own. You don't need to do it on your own. Okay. There is communities across the internet. There's physical communities that people meet up and talk business and offer support and guidance. So yeah, that's really what I would encourage everybody to do. If you want to take that step from sole trader to business, then you need to be gathering that information in. You need to be learning from those around you, learning from people that have walked that walk already. Because if you can just pick up a small thing here and there, it will just make your journey a lot smoother and safer.
Yeah, and I would second that. Part of one of my own personal beliefs is 1% better every day. Yeah. So don't be overwhelmed. Like, if you start searching, what do I need to know to run a business? There will just be like this huge tidal wave of information. What you really want is just stick to the really basic, simple stuff. But every day, definitely don't beat yourself up. Just be slightly better every day. And that 1% better every day, it really compounds. I know you're not really a percentage guy, but it's a really huge difference. I get
the concept. And I'd like to add off the bottom of that, on the days that you don't beat yourself up. Start again tomorrow. Don't let a bad day today drag into a bad week, a bad month, a bad year. Start every day. If you're blessed enough to wake up in that morning, is a new day. So learn the lessons from the day before, and don't dwell on any mistakes, any down bits that have happened that day before. Crack on with the day ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing is focus on how much you've gained, not the gap. So don't have this like ideal, I should be up here kind of thing. Look at how far you've come, celebrate how far you've come, and just focus on that, that gain element, not of that gap, because it's just you'll approach the day with so much more energy, drive, and when you're with customers, that will come across, and you will win more, and you will actually, you'll go, it will work out.
That's really, really important. I think I read a book by Dan Sullivan, I think his name is. He talks about the gap and the gain.
Yeah, it's Dan Sullivan.
Yeah,
it's Dan Sullivan, gain and the gap.
That's it. Yeah. So important to remember where it is you've come from. We're too busy always looking forward. We never really appreciate just how far we've actually come to be sitting here today, or be doing whatever it is we are. So yeah, no, that's a very good point, and a good book if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been very insightful and really enjoyable. So thank you very much, Wayne. It's good.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.